This is BBC News. I'm Christian Fraser, live from Buckingham Palace, where the King will today lead the first of 4 days of VE Day commemorations to mark the end of World War II in Europe. And just as they did in 1945, thousands will be lining the streets here in London. There will be a Red Arrows flypast, a military procession, and the King and Queen will host a tea party at the Palace. We'll bring it to you live here on BBC News.
I'm Catherine Biarahanga in the studio. The other headlines. President Trump plans to hit all foreign-made movies with 100% tariffs. He says other nations are luring film crews with tax breaks.
If they're not willing to make a movie inside the United States, then we should have a tariff on movies that come in.
And a nationalist politician has come out on top in the first round of the rerun of Romania's presidential election.
Hello, welcome back to Buckingham Palace, where the King will be leading the first commemorative events to mark 80 years since VE Day, or Victory in Europe. There'll be a military procession through central London today, watched by the King, Queen Camilla, and the Prince and Princess of Wales. And of course, we'll be looking forward to the flypast by the famous Red Arrows as well. The Mall is looking resplendent. The Union flags are up all the way along the Mall and around Parliament Square this morning, and they've just put out, they've just been dressing the balcony where the King and Queen will appear later on today. I can see the scouts there on the barricade. They will be part of the procession today, among a number of the cadet groups that will be marching up the Mall. And they're about 3 or 4 deep, I think, at the barricade, the more dedicated already here in position to get the best view. But it's not all about events here in London, because as in 1945, there will be street parties taking place across the UK today. So let's get to our reporter, Jane McCubbin, who joins us from a community festival in Blackburn. Jane, what will they be doing there?
Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, about 20,000 people are expected down here in Witton Park in Blackburn, one of thousands of events taking place right across the country, all hosted by the Royal British Legion. Good morning, everybody. The brass band is here ready to go, but before I introduce you to them, look at this. Abby and Elsie looking amazing. Give us a little blast of what you'll be performing later.
Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me.
No, 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 absolutely fantastic. You are so glad to be here today, aren't you?
Yes.
Why?
Because we think it is really important that the people that fought in both World Wars, they have to be remembered because they did so much for our country. And it is just a really special day for many people.
Good luck with your performance, girls. All right, you take good care. I need to introduce Peter to you now. Peter Knight. Peter Knight.
Hello.
You were there as a 3-year-old. Tell me what happened to you.
And a 3-year-old, that was in Dagenham, Essex, where I was born. And I remember coming out of an air raid shelter to see the house we lived in, all shattered, no windows, no doors.
My goodness, one of your earliest memories.
Yes, and then I ended up getting on a train to come north.
And you stayed north.
Yeah, and my brothers and sisters were evacuated.
Wow, we know how to throw a party up north, don't we?
Oh, yes.
Hey, you're going to strike up the band in a moment, but before we do, Eric, VE Day, you were 8. What's your memories of that, Peter?
Not a lot, but it was a party. And we were looking forward more to the sweets that we could buy next day.
Because the sweetie shops were back open.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about, isn't it? It's about people coming together, yes, to commemorate, but also to celebrate peace, all those years of peace that have taken place ever since. Shall I introduce Eric now, bandmaster?
Nice to be here.
Nice to see
Great
you.
event.
Such an important moment for people to come together across the country. Why?
It is. Well, we're all remembering the sacrifices that were made all those years ago and the achievement that was created in overcoming tyranny so that we can have freedom and democracy nowadays.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are you going to be doing all day? So you're here.
We're here, we get a little break now, and then at 11:45 we're back on again, playing for an hour.
Give us a blast.
Will do.
Give us a blast. And I will leave you with the sound of Blackburn Citadel Band. Have a great day, whatever you are doing today.
Salvation Army in East Lancashire, that gets you going, doesn't it? And went Abby and Elsie, fantastic, just sparked into it, fantastic. Well, lots more of that to come here, of course, because the marching bands will be here in just under 3 hours' time. They'll be setting off around midday at Parliament Square as they march up here, up the Mall, around the dais here, and then they'll all be here in formation. It should be quite a spectacle later this afternoon, so do watch the BBC special for that. But of course, it's not just here in the UK where the commemorations are taking place. It is Victory in Europe Day, which tells you that there will be commemorations right across the continent through the course of the week. In the Netherlands, the Dutch Liberation Parade will be led by World War II veterans from the UK as the country gives thanks to those who liberated them. And our reporter John McQuire is there for us, and he sent this report.
At the stroke of midnight, these two former soldiers joined forces once again. Unknown to each other before tonight, 100-year-old Mervyn Kirsch and Nick Janicki, who's 101 and from Canada, had fought on the same side to defeat the Nazis and to free Europe. Last night they stood side by side to light the freedom flame in Wageningen, the city where the German surrender was signed.
Very moving, very enjoyable to be able to do it. No need to be invited, which is a great honour, but the circumstances which enabled Holland to be liberated and celebrated each year.
What a tremendous honour, really. A great honour. And the Dutch people have just been so wonderful with me over the years.
This is a huge day for the Dutch. Many came last night to watch live performances and to give thanks for their freedom.
It means a lot. Liberation, freedom, everything. And a minute ago, one of the old soldiers came by. It's chickenpox.
Yeah, goosebumps.
Good, yes,
yeah.
Yes.
We should always remember freedom, and whether it's the Second World War or any other war, if people fight for freedom, we should be proud of the fighters and be aware what they did for us or all of the other people in the world.
There occurred the greatest battlefield surrender of this or any other war.
The surrender here followed on from events in a canvas tent almost 400 kilometres to the northeast, where the evening before, on May the 4th, 1945, these extraordinary pictures show Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery presiding over the German command, signing the unconditional surrender of their forces in the Netherlands and much of Northern Europe.
General Admiral von Friedeberg will sign first.
He called them forward one by one to put pen to paper, and with it, the last few vestiges of Nazi resistance were collapsing. Mervyn has returned to Normandy and here to the Netherlands many times in recent years, brought over by the London cab drivers from the taxi charity for military veterans. He says the reception they receive here is particularly special.
They come up to you and you know, you feel sincere. They give you a hug or shake hands, really shake hands. The Dutch are very, very, very warm.
As midnight passed, the mood changed from commemoration to celebration as the streets were filled with excited relay runners.
The liberation flame has been used to light dozens and dozens of other torches. They will now be taken the length and breadth of the Netherlands by these walkers and runners to ensure the entire country gets to commemorate Liberation Day.
And for the returning veterans, they come here to honour those they left behind 80 years ago, to remember, but also to encourage us all not to repeat the mistakes of previous generations.
Thanks to John Maguire for that. Some great scenes there in the Netherlands, and a reminder of the indelible link that this country has with the continent. And that will, of course, be reflected today in the procession, because there will be serving personnel from the European military marching in the procession. So troops from France, from Germany, from Italy, from the United States, alongside Ukrainian troops who've been trained here in the UK. 12 nations taking part in those efforts to train Ukrainian troops. So they will be part of the procession that will make its way past the dais behind me. At the live point with me right now is the military historian Lizzie Shipton. Hello, it's very nice to see you.
Good morning.
I was reading a really interesting piece yesterday in the Sunday Times about the mass observation surveys that were done in 1945 to sort of gather opinion around the country about how people wanted to mark VE Day. And I got the sense that there was, yes, relief and excitement that it was over, but also a mood of anticlimax, because they knew it was coming, and then the big overwhelming question was, now what?
It's a huge point of reflection, so it's certainly a time for celebration, to let your hair down and just to revel in the moment. And as Winston Churchill said, this is your brief moment to celebrate. But it's also a very poignant time to reflect on the human cost of war. And we know that certainly many people still had family members in service overseas, and the war continued in Asia as well. So it was a difficult, bittersweet time for many.
And we focus, and we should rightly focus, on the sacrifice that many made to liberate Europe. But back here at home, over 2 million homes were bombed. There were a lot of people in the country who at that time might have celebrated the end of the war, but many of them were homeless.
Yep, living in prefabricated houses. They really didn't have any personal possessions left. And what we know is the Blitz, which took so many homes, but also what's not known so well are the doodlebugs, so the V1 bombs and the V2 rockets that continued right up to March 1945. So there was still a massive civilian loss of life and a certain terror that were in those months.
Talk to me about what will be happening today in Europe around the Commonwealth War graves, which many people visit through the course of the year. It's a particularly poignant moment at those sites around France, northern France.
Well, it's really exciting for the Commonwealth War Graves Commission because we're going on the road. So we have a mobile exhibition, interactive tour, which is going to be visiting sites across the UK, but also 12 countries in total. We're going to be having commemorative events throughout the summer, taking us right up to the anniversary of Victory in Japan Day, which is in middle of August. And so there'll be an option for people to do tours of cemeteries, find out the history on their local doorstep. There will be opportunities to go to see this mobile exhibition, the Forevermore Tour. And very exciting, at the centre of this, at the heart of the commemorations, is Torch for Peace, the Commonwealth War Graves Torch for Peace, which we're going to see later on today at the head of the military procession. And
Alan Kennett, a veteran, 100 years old, who served, will be carrying it up the Mall, accompanied by the Household Division and the King's Troop. Lizzie, it's lovely to see you. Thank you very much for being with us here today. Just a reminder, there'll be plenty more coming from Buckingham Palace as we go through the morning, but a reminder that we have a special live page running with coverage of all the special events that are taking place up and down the country. You will find that on the BBC News website and on the app. And plenty there to have a look at, with all the memories that people might have, many of the brilliant testimonies that we've had from the veterans through the course of the week. We'll take a short break. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.
Hello, this is BBC News. I'm Catherine Biarahanga. To Romania, where a nationalist politician who is against providing military support for Ukraine and is sceptical about the European Union has won a resounding victory in the first round of the rerun of the presidential election there. Jorge Simeon won 41% of the vote. He'll enter a runoff in 2 weeks' time as the clear favourite against the Liberal mayor of Bucharest, who came second. Mr. Simeon is an admirer of US President Donald Trump. He told the BBC that he believes in a strong NATO and is in favour of keeping NATO bases and US troops in Romania if he becomes president. Well, let's speak to political analyst Radu Magdin, who's based in Bucharest. Thank you for joining us on BBC News. So George Simeon has promised to make Romania great again. Compared to other elections, for example, Canada and Australia, where candidates who were allied to Donald Trump have been punished at the polls, why is George Simeon performing better?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. So, first of all, Romanians are very American friendly, and I think there is no comparison between comments made by the US administration as regards Canada and possible integrity to the problems as regards the state, or comments as relates Romania and its future. In fact, the Trump family has abstained, and I say the Trump family because also Don Jr. has been quite active recently on a pan-European tour. The Trump family has abstained on comments in Romania. We have seen other MAGA influencers, as well as Elon Musk, very active on Twitter and interviews as regards Romania, and particularly after the cancellation of presidential elections last time in December. Of course, there is a natural sex appeal by conservatives or ultra-conservatives in trying to connect to the main source of power for them, namely President Trump and the MAGA movement. It remains to be seen if Romanians will follow the Canadian, Australian, or should I say from Europe, the German example, right? Because AfD didn't score as well as people thought in German elections. For the moment, Mr. Simeon goes with the first chance to win the elections, because it's difficult for the mayor of Bucharest to win more than 30% of the vote, because now he's around 20%. It's easier for Mr. Simeon to get another 10%. But Romania has been a spectacular country in its political democratic history, and we have seen in the past situations in which somebody with 40% lost in the second round of the elections.
Radu Magdin, I'm really sorry we have to leave it there, but thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us.
Thank you too.
Now, here in the UK, 7 Iranian nationals are among 8 men who were arrested in 2 separate counter-terrorism investigations on Saturday. The Metropolitan Police has said 5 of the arrests were part of a pre-planned investigation into an alleged plot to target a specific premises. Our reporter Simon Jones has more.
Police use explosives to get into a house in Rochdale. A counter-terrorism raid in broad daylight. The military brought in to assist. A man is arrested. In Swindon, a suspect is dragged through the street, his hands placed in plastic bags. Police clearly felt the need to act swiftly and decisively. 5 men arrested in this operation, 4 of them Iranian nationals, allegedly linked to a plot to target a specific site.
Nothing ever like this has been known before. It's just been, it's a complete shock for such a small local community to have something like this on your doorstep.
In what police are describing as an unconnected operation, 3 Iranian nationals were detained in London under the National Security Act. These have been described as some of the biggest counter-terrorism operations in recent years. The police say they believe there was a threat to the public, though officers have declined to give much detail about any alleged plots. Last year, MI5 warned of potentially lethal threats to the UK, backed by Iran.
So the investigations are in their early stages, as I'm sure you can imagine. We will continue to work tirelessly. There are several hundred officers and staff working on this investigation, and we'll work very hard to ensure we understand the threats to the wider public.
The 8 men arrested remain in custody. Simon Jones, BBC News.
Russia has closed one of Moscow's main airports after a Ukrainian drone attack targeting the capital. The city's mayor said air defense forces had intercepted 4 drones heading for Moscow. No injuries or damage has been reported. Russia's defense ministry says that a total of 26 Ukrainian drones targeting Russian territory were destroyed overnight. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian military says Russia has carried out more drone attacks, saying that 116 were launched, 42 were shot down, and 21 others were lost. You're watching BBC News. President Donald Trump has announced new tariffs on all films made outside the United States, claiming Hollywood was being devastated by a trend of American filmmakers and studios working abroad. He accused other countries of luring film crews with tax breaks, calling it a threat to national security. The move comes as the White House is under mounting criticism over its trade policies that have seen Mr. Trump impose sweeping tariffs on countries around the globe. Writing on his Truth Social platform, he said, "I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands." We can now speak to film, TV and culture critic Ashanti Omka. Thank you so much for joining us on BBC News. So what do you make of the president's claims that the American film industry is being devastated by other countries luring film crews to their countries?
Well, certainly filmmaking has been a very global thing for over a century now. It's been such a big industry that makes so much money globally. The global box office is huge, and a lot of those films that make that money are Hollywood productions. And in this case, it is quite a blow to the industry to hear that 100% tariff is going to be put on these productions, just because mainly these huge, Hollywood productions, the Mission Impossibles, the Marvel films are being made in different parts of the globe. And that's the appeal of these films. The whole idea is that these films are being loved across the globe. And it is a very worrying thing for the film industry right now. And we don't know exactly how these tariffs are going to hit, but it's going to impact the industry for sure.
And so what could it mean for the type of films and TV series that actually produced in the end if these tariffs were imposed?
They're just going to become much more expensive. So if we take something like James Cameron's Avatar, Fire and Ash, that's been made in New Zealand, if they put 100% tariff on that, say the budget for that film was 500 million, that'll already, it would already cost double that for it to be bought, to be sold to different territories. It definitely is going to affect how these are made. It's going to affect the budgets. It's going to affect the type of talent that these films will attract also. And the same goes for TV series, because certainly he has mentioned only cinema right now, but TV shows are made in throngs, not just in Los Angeles, in the heart of Hollywood, but also across the globe. So it is a very worrying thing at the moment.
It is indeed a very worrying thing for different countries. So how could the UK film industry respond, do you think?
Well, I guess that every film industry right now is formulating how to respond and how they'll be dealing with these tariffs, given that we know very little about how they're going to be imposed. The UK certainly will be responding in a big way, because say a film like Barbie that made over $1 billion globally, that was made mainly in Leviston in the UK, the Warner Brothers studio that is right here in the UK. A TV series like Andor has been filmed largely in the UK, Star Wars Andor, which is a Disney Plus TV series. So it's really interesting that we in the UK, the industry in the UK already has been struggling quite a bit, and the UK has been wanting these international productions to be filmed in the UK. There's a lot of UK talent that is working across the globe. It would be really nice to see a reconciliation for this, because at the moment it doesn't look good for the UK or for the world if 100% tariff is imposed on every production.
Indeed, a story that I think a lot of viewers would want to follow there. That's Ashanti Omka, film, TV and culture critic. Thank you for joining us on BBC News.
Thank you for having me.
You're watching BBC News with me, Catherine Biarahanga. Let's show you the scene live again across central London. Of course, we continue to bring you coverage of events to mark the 80th anniversary of VE Day. My colleague Christian Fraser is live for us outside Buckingham Palace, and we'll be joining him in just a few minutes' time. So stay with us for that. But now it's time for a look at the weather with Ben Rich.
Hello. Bank holiday Monday promises to bring a lot of dry weather across most parts of the UK, but it is going to feel rather cool out there, just as it did on Sunday. The highest temperature on Sunday was in Plymouth at 17 degrees, but Balmoral in Aberdeenshire only got to 8 degrees Celsius, exposed to the breeze and some rather cold air, which has been sinking its way southwards across all parts of the UK. High pressure is in charge though, so that is keeping things largely dry, but a few showers across some eastern parts of England, drifting across parts of the Midlands, the southeast through the morning. Elsewhere, a mostly sunny start, but we will see more in the way of cloud developing as we go through the day. Aside from the odd light shower, though, most places will stay dry. Quite breezy down towards the southeast, and top temperatures will be found across western areas at around 15 or 16 degrees. That said, these North Sea coasts perhaps not quite as chilly as they were on Sunday, with highs of around 11 or 12 degrees. Now, during Monday nights, a lot of the daytime cloud will melt away. Under clear skies, we could see a few mist patches, and it will also turn quite cold. Temperatures getting widely down into single digits. Some places will see a touch of frost as we start Tuesday morning. But another mostly dry day on Tuesday. Fair bit of cloud around across parts of eastern England. Also, a fair bit of cloud rolling across the northwest of Scotland. And in between, sunny spells. Cloud amounts tending to increase into the afternoon. Temperatures, though, also increasing, 17 to maybe 19 degrees Celsius. And that is a trend that will continue through the week. Things will turn warmer and it will stay largely dry. So Wednesday, more of the same, really. A mostly sunny start, some areas of cloud here and there. And then through the day, cloud amounts tending to increase, but the vast majority are set to stay dry. Top temperatures on Wednesday, maybe getting up to around 18, 19 or 20 degrees there in Cardiff, more like 14 further east in Newcastle and in Hull. But our area of high pressure holds firm as we head towards the end of the week, fending off all the rain-bearing weather systems, keeping us largely dry, and those temperatures will start to climb into the high teens or even the low 20s Celsius as we get into next weekend. You can, of course, check your local forecast on the BBC Weather app. Bye for now.
I think the first signs that I wanted to be a journalist were when, as a kid, I started making pretend reports in my back garden. I always liked asking a lot of questions. But as I grew up, I wanted to be part of trying to explain why things happen. I've had a lot of different jobs in journalism. What I've learned is that it's always about the people that are at the heart of these stories, how they're affected. The wildfires was a story I was living through myself.
It is really hard to comprehend how life is ever going to get back to normal here.
Overwhelming for so many people in the city, and it was affecting everyone's day-to-day lives. And I was going to bed at night not really knowing what I was going to wake up to the next day. The fires were burning right around us, so we were having to take split-second decisions about how to gather pictures and tell this story.
There's helicopters flying just above us, just dropping water now, trying to keep those flames at bay.
It was tearing through everything. I knew thousands of people were leaving their homes and were probably never going to get to go back to them. And in the middle of that chaos, I had to find ways to talk to people about what they were experiencing.
That was my house.
It's all gone. I think hearing one person's story helps viewers trust what they're hearing. Because when you can empathise with one person's experience, it helps you get an understanding of the bigger picture.